No, I haven't spoken to Harry.
Whenever the Prince of Wales sends me a message and says, I need you to do this or be there, it's always a yes. So when Catherine's asked me to be part of the foundation, I was very honoured, very privileged.
In a world where fame and loyalty often clash, one shocking move has sent ripples through the celebrity and royal circles. David Beckham, a man who's become a symbol of grace and dedication, has made a stunning decision that no one saw coming.
The most special moment for me was when I received my OBE.
He turned down a coveted invitation from none other than Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, to appear on her Netflix series. A simple yet powerful phrase, "I don't know her," may just have changed the course of their once friendly relationship forever. Why did he do it? The truth behind this bold snub will leave you speechless. In June 2025, the British media buzzed with excitement when it was announced that Beckham had been awarded a knighthood in recognition of his significant contributions to sport and charity. While this honor was a crowning achievement for the 50-year-old, it also marked a pivotal moment in the celebrity-royal dynamic, especially when it comes to his interactions with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. The announcement of Beckham's knighthood came on the heels of his rejection of an invitation from Meghan Markle. The invite was for her Netflix series, where she hoped to feature Beckham in a segment that would blend fame, family life, and charity work. On the surface, it seemed like a great opportunity for both sides. Meghan could benefit from Beckham's global appeal and his reputation as a devoted father and philanthropist. Beckham, in turn, could gain access to a broader American audience, aligning his brand with Meghan's growing media presence. However, the reality was much more complicated than this seemingly innocent request. Beckham's decision to turn down Meghan's offer was not just a casual no. It was a deliberate stance that spoke volumes about his loyalties and the delicate balance of relationships within the celebrity and royal world. The rejection came after years of fluctuating ties between the Beckham family and the Sussexes. While the Beckhams and the royal family, particularly Prince William and Catherine, have long shared a close bond, the same cannot be said for their relationship with Meghan and Harry. The Beckhams' ties to the royal family are well documented, stretching back to the early 2000s when David and his wife Victoria were seen mingling with the royal family at various charity events. Their friendship with Prince William was especially notable, with the Beckhams being frequent guests at royal galas and events. David and Victoria's impeccable public image, combined with their charitable work, made them a fitting match for the royals, whose own public persona relied on maintaining a sense of elegance, grace, and responsibility. However, when Meghan Markle entered the picture in 2017, things began to shift. At first, the Beckhams were eager to welcome Meghan and Harry into their circle. Invitations to dinners, support for Meghan during her early days in London, and even whispers of fashion advice offered by Victoria seemed to signal the start of a promising relationship. Yet, it wasn't long before tensions began to simmer beneath the surface. Rumors of leaks to the press and the constant media attention surrounding the Sussexes caused cracks to form in the once friendly relationship. By 2018, the fallout between the Beckhams and the Sussexes was apparent. David and Victoria, despite attending the royal wedding, were not invited to the Sussexes' private reception. This exclusion only added fuel to the fire, with sources speculating that Meghan had suspected David of leaking information to the press. It was a situation that left a sour taste for both parties, and the public began to notice the growing distance between them. The tension between the two families was further exacerbated when David's documentary series, released on Netflix in 2023, became an instant success. It was hailed as authentic, revealing, endearing, and deeply human, showcasing Beckham's life beyond the football pitch. The documentary also overshadowed the Sussexes' own Netflix series, which faced criticism for lacking authenticity. In the midst of all this, there was another subtle jab between the two sides, this time in the form of a viral video. Meghan's brand launched a new product, a homemade strawberry jam, which was marketed as a symbol of simplicity and wholesome living. David, not one to back down from a little competition, responded with his own jam video, featuring a cheeky plum preserve and a playful voiceover from Victoria. Fans quickly picked up on the subtle message. David's jam was a direct contrast to Meghan's, portraying her as overly polished and inauthentic. These events led to an evolving dynamic where the Beckhams, once seen as a bridge between Hollywood and the royal family, began to distance themselves from the Sussexes. As Meghan's public image became more entwined with her media ventures and her growing influence in the United States, David's loyalty to the British royal family, especially to Catherine, became even more apparent. It was clear that David's priorities were shifting away from Hollywood-style fame and toward a more traditional and dignified approach to celebrity. When Meghan reached out to David for his participation in her latest Netflix venture, the timing could not have been more significant. Beckham had just received word of his impending knighthood, and the honor was not lost on him. It was a moment of reflection, where the weight of his legacy, his loyalty to the monarchy, and his commitment to his family and charity work took precedence over any fleeting media appearances or Hollywood-style collaborations. David's rejection of Meghan's invitation wasn't just about the project itself. It was about reaffirming his place within the British establishment and his unwavering support for Catherine. While Meghan's team pushed for a reunion of sorts, hoping to rekindle old friendships for the cameras, David's response made it clear where his allegiances lay. In declining the offer, Beckham subtly reinforced the message that his priorities had shifted, and his loyalty to the British royal family, especially to Princess Catherine, was unshakable. The moment became even more loaded when David's infamous response, "I don't know her," circulated. Though said with a laugh, it carried a significant weight. It wasn't just a dismissive remark. It was a clear indication that the chapter between the Beckhams and the Sussexes was closed. For David, it wasn't about a personal vendetta, but rather about protecting his family's legacy and maintaining the values that had guided him throughout his career. In choosing to stay true to his royal ties, David was making a statement about where his heart truly lay. In the weeks that followed, as the media storm around Meghan's show continued to grow, David's status continued to soar. His knighthood, a recognition of his contributions to both sport and charity, became a symbol of his enduring legacy and the respect he commanded in British society. It was in these quieter moments, as he stood by the royal family and attended charity events supporting causes close to his heart, that David's true character shone through. For him, it wasn't about fame or drama. It was about aligning himself with causes that mattered and demonstrating loyalty to those who had stood by him through thick and thin. David Beckham's rejection of Meghan Markle's Netflix invitation marked the beginning of a new chapter in his relationship with the Sussexes, but it also highlighted the complexities of celebrity in the modern age. The decision was a reminder that, for some, fame is not just about being in the spotlight. It's about staying true to one's values and aligning with institutions that represent something bigger than any individual. In Beckham's case, that institution was the British royal family, and his unwavering loyalty to them, especially to Princess Catherine, set the stage for the unfolding drama that would captivate fans around the world. David Beckham's relationship with the British royal family goes beyond just a few friendly exchanges at charity events or celebrity-studded weddings. Over the years, the Beckhams and the Windsors have developed a bond that, while deeply rooted in respect and shared values, has also been tested by personal and professional tensions. The evolution of this relationship highlights the shifting dynamics between celebrities and the monarchy, offering a glimpse into the complex web of loyalty, influence, and public image. Back in the early 2000s, as Beckham's football career was at its peak, he and his wife Victoria were already well integrated into elite social circles. David, known for his skill on the field and his suave image off it, became a frequent figure at high-profile events. His connection with the British royal family began to solidify during this time, particularly with Prince William, who was then making his mark on the world stage. Beckham and Victoria were often seen alongside the royals, attending charity galas, special events, and sporting occasions. This was an era where the boundaries between football royalty and actual royalty blurred seamlessly, with the Beckhams earning their place not just as famous faces, but as individuals whose philanthropy and influence were valued by the monarchy. The Beckhams' relationship with Prince William and Catherine, now the Princess of Wales, appeared to be grounded in mutual respect. Over the years, David's admiration for Prince William grew, especially as he observed the way the prince balanced his duties with family life. There was a genuine camaraderie between them, built on shared experiences of fame, public scrutiny, and the pressure that comes with being in the spotlight. Both men were also fathers, and David often expressed his respect for William's approach to parenting and his commitment to being a hands-on father, despite the responsibilities of his royal position. David's connection with Catherine also deepened during these years. While the two were never as publicly close as he was with William, David's respect for Catherine was evident. Sources close to the royal family revealed that David always had a soft spot for Catherine, appreciating her poise and grace, especially after her health struggles in recent years. In 2024, when Catherine faced a challenging health issue, David made a point of visiting her in the hospital. It was a gesture that spoke volumes, not just because of its personal nature, but because it was done without fanfare or media attention. It was a moment that highlighted the depth of David's loyalty to the royal family. He was not simply attending royal events for the glamour. He was genuinely invested in the well-being of the family. The Beckhams had long been seen as staunch supporters of the royal family, but their support for Meghan Markle and Prince Harry was initially met with much fanfare. When Meghan first joined the royal family, the Beckhams were among the many who offered their support. Invitations were extended to dinners, and there were whispers of David and Victoria offering advice and friendship to the couple during their early days in London. There was even talk of Victoria offering fashion advice to Meghan, though it was never fully confirmed. The Beckhams seemed to extend the same warmth to the Sussexes that they had shown to the Windsors, with the hope that a genuine friendship would blossom. However, cracks began to appear in the seemingly harmonious relationship almost immediately. The public attention surrounding Meghan and Harry was overwhelming from the start. The constant media scrutiny, along with the couple's decision to carve out their own path outside of the royal family, put a strain on their relationships with many people, including the Beckhams. In the early days of Meghan and Harry's royal journey, it appeared that the Beckhams would continue to stand by them, offering support in the face of relentless press coverage. But as the media storm intensified, so did the tensions behind the scenes. By 2018, it was clear that the once promising relationship between the Beckhams and the Sussexes had begun to unravel. While David and Victoria attended the royal wedding in May of that year, they were notably absent from the private reception that followed. This snub raised eyebrows and quickly became a point of contention. Rumors circulated that Meghan had been disappointed by their absence from the more intimate celebrations, while others speculated that David had been hurt by accusations that he had been leaking stories to the press. Whether true or not, the absence from the reception marked a turning point in the relationship between the Beckhams and the Sussexes. At the same time, the media landscape surrounding the Sussexes became increasingly toxic. Meghan and Harry's decision to step back from royal duties in 2020 and their subsequent move to the United States further alienated them from many members of the royal family, including the Beckhams. In interviews, David remained tight-lipped about his relationship with the Sussexes, never directly addressing the fallout, but allowing the press to speculate. As the drama unfolded, David's focus seemed to shift more toward his work, his family, and his ongoing support for the royal family, particularly for William and Catherine. David's loyalty to the royal family became even more apparent when the Sussexes' Netflix series Harry and Meghan premiered in late 2022. The series was met with mixed reviews, with many critics calling it overly polished and lacking authenticity. In contrast, David's own Netflix project, a documentary that showcased his life and career, was a smash hit. It garnered critical acclaim for its honest portrayal of his journey, from his rise as a football superstar to his philanthropic efforts off the pitch. The documentary was seen as a masterclass in authenticity, something that Meghan and Harry's series, according to critics, lacked. One of the most telling moments of this ongoing feud came in 2023, when the Jam Wars took center stage. Meghan's brand launched a new product, a homemade strawberry jam that was marketed as a symbol of Meghan's simple, down-to-earth lifestyle. David, never one to shy away from a challenge, responded with his own jam video, featuring a cheeky plum preserve and a playful voiceover from Victoria. It was a fun, lighthearted moment, but it was also impossible to ignore the subtle jab at Meghan's polished image. The contrast between Meghan's perfectly staged simple living and David's playful take on the same theme was stark, and it fueled further tensions between the two parties. The public nature of these tensions made it clear that the Beckhams were no longer as eager to align themselves with the Sussexes. What had started as a friendly relationship now appeared to be a rivalry, one that was increasingly defined by differences in public persona and the way each family navigated their fame. While the Beckhams remained steadfast in their support of the royal family, particularly Catherine, the Sussexes' continued focus on their American ventures and their attempt to carve out their own brand in Hollywood seemed at odds with the values that David and Victoria had long espoused. David's relationship with Catherine, in particular, seemed to grow stronger during this period, as Catherine took on more prominent roles within the royal family. Especially in the aftermath of her health challenges, David was quick to offer his support. He praised her resilience publicly, acknowledging the strength she showed in balancing her royal duties with her personal life. His admiration for Catherine's dedication to charity work and her focus on children's causes aligned perfectly with his own philanthropic efforts. As the Sussexes continued to distance themselves from the royal family, David's unwavering loyalty to Catherine and the monarchy became all the more apparent. The transition from friendship to strained relations between the Beckhams and the Sussexes wasn't just about personal grievances or media leaks. It was about values, specifically the values of loyalty, family, and tradition that both the Beckhams and the royal family hold dear. As Meghan and Harry's narrative evolved, so too did their relationship with the Beckhams. What had once seemed like a shared commitment to charity and public service had now become a symbol of contrasting paths. The Beckhams, loyal to the royal family and their long-standing commitments, chose to distance themselves from the drama surrounding the Sussexes, and instead focused on what they felt truly mattered: family, tradition, and a sense of duty to causes that aligned with their values. As the tension between the two families continued to grow, the public narrative surrounding them also began to shift. The Beckhams, long seen as icons of celebrity, became associated with a more grounded, traditional sense of public service. Meanwhile, the Sussexes' growing media empire and increasingly divisive presence on the world stage only served to emphasize the contrast between the two. And while the media continued to fuel the drama, the Beckhams' decision to prioritize loyalty and family over Hollywood-style fame became a defining characteristic of their public image in the years to come. David Beckham's decision to decline Meghan Markle's invitation to appear on her Netflix show was not just a fleeting moment in the ongoing saga between the Sussexes and the Beckhams. It was the culmination of years of complex relationships, subtle power plays, and shifting allegiances within the celebrity and royal worlds. To truly understand the significance of Beckham's refusal, it is essential to dive deeper into the context behind the decision and the ramifications it had for both parties involved. Meghan Markle's ambitious move into the media world through her Archewell Foundation and the accompanying Netflix projects was part of her broader effort to carve out an independent identity outside of her royal duties. When she and Prince Harry stepped back from their royal responsibilities in 2020, they set out to build a new life and brand, primarily in the United States. This decision was controversial, leading to significant public and media backlash. However, the Sussexes were determined to leverage their royal status in new ways, particularly through projects that would allow them to maintain relevance while asserting their independence from the royal family. Meghan's Netflix series was initially viewed as a way to solidify her place in the media landscape. In the beginning, it seemed as though she was aligning herself with other high-profile figures, with the goal of creating content that would appeal to a wide audience. However, Meghan's approach to her ventures was often criticized for seeming overly manufactured, lacking the authenticity that many had come to associate with the royal family. In contrast, David Beckham's own Netflix documentary, which aired in 2023, was praised for its genuine portrayal of his life. While Beckham had built a brand around his sports career, he was not primarily defined by his celebrity. The documentary showcased his struggles, triumphs, and deep dedication to charity work, offering an honest look into his life, family, and his relationships with various causes. For Meghan, whose brand often revolved around a carefully curated public persona, David's documentary provided a striking contrast. It highlighted his authenticity and grounded nature, while also showcasing his long-standing connection with the royal family. By contrast, Meghan's own documentary faced criticisms for lacking the same raw and relatable feel. Some observers even suggested that Meghan's brand was too polished and crafted, making it difficult for audiences to connect with her on a deeper level. David Beckham's public image was one of sincerity, which only served to further amplify the differences between him and the Sussexes. As their feud simmered beneath the surface, it became increasingly clear that their approaches to fame and public life were at odds. When Meghan invited David to appear on her upcoming Netflix show, the offer was framed as a way to feature a global icon who had navigated both celebrity and family life with apparent ease. She wanted him to share his story of balancing fame with personal joy, especially in the context of his family life with Victoria and their children. The concept seemed simple enough on the surface. David had built a reputation not only as a football legend, but also as a devoted father and philanthropist. His family-oriented image made him an ideal candidate for Meghan's show, which was focused on real-life and relatable content. However, David's response to the invitation was anything but simple. After consulting with his advisors and reflecting on the state of his relationship with the Sussexes, David made the deliberate decision to decline the invitation. His refusal was not just about Meghan's specific project, but about the broader implications of aligning himself with someone whose public image had become increasingly controversial. At the heart of Beckham's decision was his desire to maintain his long-standing ties to the royal family, particularly his close relationship with Catherine, Princess of Wales. His decision reflected a deeper loyalty to the British monarchy and a commitment to the values that he believed it represented. David Beckham had long been seen as an unofficial ambassador for British royalty, especially as his relationship with Prince William and Catherine had deepened over the years. His support for Catherine in particular had grown stronger in recent years. He had praised her for her poise, grace, and unwavering dedication to her royal duties, especially after her health struggles. David's admiration for her was evident, and he had shown his support by visiting her in the hospital during her recovery in 2024. His decision to prioritize his loyalty to Catherine over Meghan's invitation was rooted in years of quiet allegiance to the royal family. It wasn't just about rejecting Meghan personally. It was about reaffirming his place within the royal family's inner circle and maintaining a sense of continuity in a world where loyalties often shift. In addition to his loyalty to Catherine, David's rejection of Meghan's invitation also reflected his broader desire to distance himself from the drama surrounding the Sussexes. Over the years, the tension between the Beckhams and the Sussexes had been fueled by a variety of factors, including leaks to the press, media scrutiny, and a growing sense that the Beckhams were being dragged into a feud that was not of their making. David had long remained silent about the increasing friction between the Sussexes and the royal family, but his decision to turn down Meghan's invitation spoke volumes. It was a quiet but firm way of signaling that he no longer wished to be part of the narrative that Meghan and Harry were creating. Instead, he wanted to remain focused on his own family, his charitable work, and his enduring ties to the British royal family. David's rejection of the invitation was also significant because it came at a time when he was being celebrated for his own accomplishments. In June 2025, Beckham received a knighthood from King Charles III, a momentous achievement that recognized his contributions to sport and charity. The timing of the knighthood could not have been more significant. Just as he was being honored by the monarchy, he was also being presented with a choice about which direction to take his public life. By turning down Meghan's offer, Beckham was aligning himself with the values of the British royal family, reinforcing his commitment to tradition and duty, and making it clear that he wasn't interested in Hollywood-style fame or sensationalized media appearances. The response to David's rejection of Meghan's invitation was immediate and widespread. The phrase, "I don't know her," which was reportedly used by David when explaining his decision to turn down the invitation, quickly became a viral sensation. Though said with a laugh, the comment carried a heavy undertone of finality. It was a clear indication that David Beckham had closed the door on any further involvement with Meghan Markle and her media ventures. His refusal, while polite, was also a clear boundary that signaled his intent to move forward in a way that was consistent with his personal values and his loyalty to the British monarchy. As the media reaction to the rejection grew, it became evident that David's decision was not just a personal one. It was a statement. It was a reflection of the values that had guided him throughout his life and career. For David, fame had never been about chasing headlines or staying in the public eye for the sake of it. It had always been about representing something greater: his family, his charity work, and his unwavering support for the British royal family. By declining Meghan's invitation, David was reaffirming his commitment to these values and making it clear that he would not be swayed by the allure of Hollywood or the shifting tides of celebrity. The rejection also highlighted the stark contrast between David's public image and that of Meghan Markle. While David's brand had always been built on authenticity, family values, and a deep connection to the royal family, Meghan's image had become increasingly tied to her media ventures and her efforts to carve out a new identity outside of the royal fold. The tension between these two paths, one grounded in tradition and family loyalty, the other rooted in reinvention and self-promotion, was evident in this moment. David's decision to turn down the invitation was, in many ways, a reflection of the broader divide between those who prioritize tradition and those who sought to reshape the narrative of modern celebrity. David Beckham's refusal to appear on Meghan Markle's Netflix show was a defining moment in the ongoing saga between the Beckhams and the Sussexes. It was a moment that not only reinforced Beckham's loyalty to the British royal family, but also marked a clear boundary between his world and Meghan's. In the years to come, this decision would be remembered as a pivotal moment in the relationship between celebrity and royalty, one that highlighted the power of loyalty, tradition, and authenticity in a world that is constantly changing. Meghan Markle, on the other hand, had forged a different path following her departure from the royal family with Prince Harry. Since their exit in 2020, Meghan and Harry had sought to redefine their public personas by building a media empire through ventures like the Archewell Foundation and their Netflix production deal. However, this shift from royal life to independent stardom had come with its challenges. While Meghan and Harry's message of social justice and personal freedom resonated with many, their increasing distance from the British royal family created an atmosphere of division. Meghan's media ventures, particularly her Netflix series, were seen as an attempt to craft a new narrative that would separate her from the monarchy and the pressures of royal life. However, her approach, while ambitious, was met with criticism for being overly polished, lacking in authenticity, and failing to live up to the expectations set by her past royal duties. David Beckham, with his long-standing relationship with the royal family, was faced with a clear choice. When Meghan extended the invitation to appear on her Netflix show, it was not simply an offer to participate in a media project. It was an opportunity to align himself with Meghan's vision of fame, family, and reinvention. On paper, it seemed like an ideal match. Beckham, with his global appeal and status as a father and philanthropist, could easily fit into the lifestyle theme Meghan was trying to create for her show. However, Beckham's decision to turn down the invitation was not just about the specifics of Meghan's project. It was a broader decision that spoke to his allegiance to the royal family and his desire to maintain his authenticity in a world filled with celebrity spectacle. The timing of Beckham's decision to decline the invitation right before he was honored with a knighthood, could not have been more significant. The knighthood was a culmination of years of hard work, both on and off the field, as well as a recognition of his charity work with UNICEF and his various other philanthropic efforts. For Beckham, the honor was not just a personal triumph. It was a reaffirmation of his place within British society and his unwavering loyalty to the values of the monarchy. The knighthood was also a public acknowledgement of his contributions to society, both in the world of sports and through his charitable work. As Beckham prepared to receive this prestigious award, it became clear that his connection to the monarchy and his commitment to British values would be the foundation upon which his legacy was built. For Meghan, however, the rejection of her invitation was a blow to her ongoing efforts to rebuild her personal brand. The Sussexes, after all, had long positioned themselves as outsiders to the royal family, challenging the status quo and attempting to craft a new narrative for themselves. Meghan had hoped that aligning herself with figures like David Beckham, who enjoyed immense global recognition and influence, would help strengthen her position. However, the rejection of her invitation underscored the growing divide between the Sussexes and the Beckhams. While Meghan's focus was on reinventing herself as an independent media mogul, David's focus remained firmly rooted in family, tradition, and his long-standing ties to the royal family. David Beckham's decision to publicly prioritize his loyalty to Catherine and the royal family also signaled a shift in how celebrities and royals interact in the modern era. In the past, it was common for celebrities to chase headlines by aligning themselves with the royal family, seeking the prestige and visibility that came with proximity to royalty. However, Beckham's decision to turn down Meghan's invitation demonstrated a new approach. Instead of aligning with every celebrity project that came his way, Beckham made it clear that his loyalty lay with the royal family, and his public image would not be shaped by Hollywood trends or media spectacle. By declining Meghan's offer, Beckham not only reinforced his ties to the monarchy, but also demonstrated that his values, family, loyalty, and authenticity were more important than fleeting fame or media attention. In the aftermath of the rejection, social media buzzed with commentary. The phrase, "I don't know her," which was reportedly uttered by David in reference to Meghan, quickly went viral. Though the remark was made with a sense of amusement, it was a firm statement that echoed across the media landscape. It was not just a refusal of an invitation, it was a declaration of where David's loyalty lay and where he saw his future in relation to the monarchy. For Meghan, the rejection was not just a personal slight, it was a professional one. Meghan's media ventures had been struggling to find their footing, and David's refusal to join her show only highlighted the challenges she faced in attracting high-profile figures to her projects. As David's knighthood announcement loomed, it became clear that his decision to distance himself from Meghan was not just about a personal relationship. It was a strategic move that aligned him with a future that was more in line with his own values. The decision also had broader implications for the media landscape. As the Beckhams continued to focus on their family and philanthropic work, they became symbols of a new kind of celebrity, one that was not beholden to the demands of Hollywood or the pressures of constant media exposure. Instead, they embraced a more grounded approach, one that prioritized authenticity, loyalty, and public service. This shift in values contrasted sharply with the Sussexes' approach, which increasingly seemed to center on building a media empire and navigating the complexities of being both celebrities and former royals. In the weeks following the knighthood announcement, David Beckham's public appearances further cemented his position as a staunch supporter of the monarchy. He appeared at various events alongside Catherine, Princess of Wales, reinforcing the idea that his loyalties were with the royal family. At a charity gala in July 2025, shortly after receiving his knighthood, Beckham made his first public appearance as Sir David, proudly displaying his new title. His speech at the event, in which he praised those who serve with grace and resilience under pressure, was widely interpreted as a nod to Catherine and the work she had done in the royal family, especially in the field of early childhood development. Beckham's appearance at the event was a quiet yet powerful reminder of his unwavering commitment to the royal family and the causes that they championed. Meanwhile, Meghan's Netflix series, which had once seemed like a promising project, continued to struggle in the face of this growing divide. Without the star power of figures like David Beckham, Meghan's efforts to attract major celebrities to her projects seemed increasingly futile. As the Beckhams solidified their place within the royal fold, Meghan and Harry's media empire continued to be overshadowed by the more grounded and traditional image of the Beckhams. In many ways, this moment marked the end of an era for the Sussexes and the beginning of a new chapter for David Beckham, a chapter that was firmly rooted in loyalty, family, and tradition, with the royal family as a central pillar of his public identity. David Beckham's knighthood and his subsequent actions following the invitation from Meghan Markle were a powerful statement about his place in the world of fame and celebrity. His decision to prioritize his loyalty to the British royal family and to reaffirm his commitment to the values of tradition, family, and authenticity set him apart from the shifting dynamics of Hollywood and modern celebrity. In the end, Beckham's choice to distance himself from Meghan's media ventures was not just about rejecting a project. It was a declaration of where his loyalties lay and where he saw his legacy in the broader narrative of celebrity, monarchy, and public service.